Hello, emerging and evolving leaders. I'm Christine Rozier, host of the Irrelevant Leader podcast and founder of the Leadership Collaborative and Rozier Retreats. My platforms are dedicated to expanding the pool of exceptional leaders. I'm honored to be your leadership expert today. I believe that every person has the potential to become an extraordinary leader, and in doing so, significantly impact the lives of others. Extraordinary leadership begins with mindset. Relevant leaders are committed to developing the qualities necessary to successfully lead others, qualities that are cultivated and refined over time. Throughout the Irrelevant Leader podcast series, some of the world's most relevant leaders and I examine the behaviors and characteristics of irrelevant leaders. Tune in as we dig deep into identifying what goes wrong when a leader moves down the path from powerful leadership to ineffectual leadership. Join me for live call-in sessions, one-on-one interviews, and thought leadership segments as high-profile leaders and I explore what it takes for you to avoid the blight of dreaded irrelevancy and outline how you can achieve and maintain your place among the world's most profound and relevant leaders. Thank you again for listening. Let's get to today's episode. Welcome. Today, I'd like to explore the importance of being an authentic leader. To say that something is authentic is to say that it is what it professes to be or what it is reputed to be. According to a study in the Leadership and Organization Development Journal, employees' perception of authentic leadership serves as one of the strongest predictors of job satisfaction and can really have a positive impact on work-related attitudes and work-related happiness. In addition, research outlined in the Harvard Business Review showed that a majority of employees believe authenticity in the workplace leads to several benefits, including a more positive work environment, higher levels of trust, greater productivity, and better overall relationships with colleagues. I once heard Oprah during an interview tell a story about her experience with authenticity, and I think it perfectly describes the importance of being authentic. In 1976, she was the 6 o'clock news co-anchor at WJZ in Baltimore. At that time, her idol was Barbara Walters, and she made every attempt to sound and behave like Barbara. One time, as she was reporting the weather, and trying to sound like Barbara Walters, she inadvertently pronounced Canada as Canada. Her manager at the time recognized her attempts to imitate Barbara Walters and called her into his office after the show. He said to her, "Oprah, we do not need another Barbara Walters because we already have one. What we need is an Oprah Winfrey." When Oprah decided to be Oprah, and to align with her authenticity instead of attempting to be a poor imitation of someone else, she became the most successful talk show host of all time. And there you have the perfect example of authenticity. In the work I do with leadership coaching clients, I find that authenticity can be very challenging for them, and often their unwillingness to be authentic is the very thing that stifles their ability to connect with their teams, peers, and colleagues. Being authentic takes courage. Being a leader takes courage. In the past, I've written and talked about self-awareness as a foundation of emotional intelligence. I consider authenticity to be an essential pillar of emotional intelligence, sort of like the other side of the same coin. In my view, self-awareness plus courage promotes the willingness to be authentic. Self-awareness is the ability to accurately identify your thoughts, your feelings, and behavior to understand the impact that behavior has on others. Organizational psychologist Tasha Eurich conducted a study on self-awareness, and the study showed that most people don't see themselves very clearly. The data revealed that while 95% of the people polled believed that they were self-aware, once the study was conducted, It only resulted in 12 to 15% who were actually self-aware. So being authentic means that you first are aware of what you think and feel, which can be difficult for some. If you are accustomed to simply going along with groupthink, this becomes a habit and you actually lose the ability to clearly identify what's true for you. So taking the time to investigate and reflect upon how you genuinely think and feel regarding situations, ideas, decisions, proposals will be effective in developing your own authenticity. Courage is an important and essential factor in your willingness to be authentic. Courage means that you feel the fear and you do it anyway. Courage is not the absence of fear. So many people suffer from the fear of being different, voicing opinions which are not necessarily aligned with everyone else's, or making choices that are not necessarily mainstream. It takes a tremendous amount of courage to share your unique perspectives, opinions, and thoughts. When you consider that only 10 to 20% of the population are natural leaders, you see that leadership itself is not mainstream. Your level of self-awareness helps you identify the feelings of fear, and the courage allows you to choose to be authentic instead of reacting from that fear. Being authentic doesn't mean that you verbalize every thought you think or every feeling you feel. Discernment and good judgment are still necessary skills in developing healthy, functional relationships. However, as a leader, when you hold back your authentic perspective, you could very well be doing a disservice to your team and to your organization. Your viewpoint might have been the missing link in resolving an important issue. You are not willing to be your authentic self, it could have detrimental impacts on those around you. Other people are usually aware when you're not being authentic, and this can erode trust. People trust people who are genuine and sincere, even if they don't agree with the position that you are taking. When you model authenticity and establish the foundation of trust, it provides a basis for your teams, peers, and others to come from a more authentic place. Again, it takes courage to be authentic. So many people have the false belief that others have all the answers. No one has all the answers, but what they may have is the courage to offer their authentic perspective. I have some personal experience with authenticity and continue working on it regularly. When I first began writing articles, I researched and found lots of opinions about what you should or shouldn't do when writing articles. I found numerous people offering their ideas about the proper length, structure, and tone of articles. I told myself that they must be right since they were writing articles about writing articles. So I moved forward writing in a manner that was not authentic to me. And not only were the articles awful, I didn't enjoy writing them. When I found the courage to write in a manner that was much more authentic, I found myself energized and really delighted to share my thoughts and ideas. This doesn't mean that I ignored the feedback, comments, or suggestions from the professionals and people with more experience, but rather that I considered that feedback relative to my own authenticity. My willingness to be authentic in writing came from my intention. When your intention is focused on offering what you have, regardless of others' opinions, you find the courage to be authentic. We hear so much about the extraordinary impact of servant leaders. Those leaders exemplify authenticity because their intention is to serve. Setting the intention to be of service creates a solid basis for being authentic. Start developing your own authenticity muscle by shifting from concern about what others might think of you to asking yourself how you can authentically serve. Pay attention to those times when you're holding back your authenticity. Ask yourself, what is the intention behind your being inauthentic? Once you've identified the intention, ask yourself if that intention comes from your superpower of authenticity or from your fear. If it's coming from your fear, this is a perfect place to practice courage. Be willing to acknowledge your unique gifts and talents, and then decide to serve from those talents. Like your fingerprints, your perspective is uniquely yours. While others may share similar perspectives, each perspective is made up of life experiences. Since no other person has had your distinct experiences, no other person has your unique perspective. People are often engaged in an attempt to find their purpose. I once heard it said that you are your purpose. Changing your behavior is a process that occurs over time. If you become impatient with yourself during that process, you will hinder the process and eventually revert back to your default behavior. Perhaps the first step in developing your authenticity is to start noticing when you are not being authentic. No criticism or negative self-talk, just an observation. Next, commit to not being inauthentic. If you are someone who usually goes along, consider the next time when you are in a situation where you would typically agree from an inauthentic place, simply say nothing. Or maybe it's situational, and you begin by practicing being authentic in situations where you feel safe to do so. Anything you do to move towards being more authentic will help develop your ability to move into living in a permanent state of authenticity. Make a conscious decision to align with your authenticity and see what happens. Thank you for joining me, Christine Rozier, and the Irrelevant Leader podcast series. Remember this: you are more extraordinary and capable than you think. To become the leader you aspire to be, you need the right tools and support to assist you in developing and maintaining the characteristics found in great and relevant leaders. That's why I host the Irrelevant Leader podcast, direct the year-long leadership collaborative, and Rozier Leadership Retreats. Visit the website at christinerozier.com, that's spelled R-O-S-I-E-R, to learn more. Check out the podcast page for upcoming live events and interviews with amazing, relevant leaders. If you're not already on the mailing list, then please sign up to join me in this powerful network of exceptional leaders.